We shut that, like flow down, or is it all
No,
automatic?
that's all good.
This is why I have heater in my office.
There's an extra, sweetie.
Yeah, I didn't know if anybody else would be here, so.
We are recording the meeting. Check. Yep, we're good.
We have to wait till the watch goes click, right?
Oh, are we early?
6:44.
Oh, okay.
I don't care. I don't know if it's right or
No,
not.
we got
I think these are all timed to do it. Does it? Okay. I will call this meeting to order.
All right, Jason, I think what Felicia prepared is the typical claims that we would have done before the regular October meeting, so those are there. And then I also think there was a request here on fund codes.
Yeah.
So if you want, Felicia can maybe just talk through that. I don't know if you want to get into detail, but it might be nice to see where those numbers actually are. And then I think we'll have time tonight. You know, sometimes we're, I think, in front of the board meeting, but my suggestion would be just to rip through every single claim.
Yeah, I think
I think we have time to get through them all.
that sounds good. And when I asked Felicia for these funds, it's more just kind of a reference.
Oh, I like it.
For us, because
And maybe every board member would like to, I don't know if they have copies, just as a suggestion. It's nice to reference it.
Okay. So, and it'll be good to look at these kind of side by side, so that you know what goes with what. So up in the very top left corner, we'll tell you what all these numbers are for. So that first page is the funds. So these are all the funds that are, and these come right out of our accounting system. These are not, there are more funds available to us through the OPI accounting manual, more programs, more functions, more objects, but these are the ones that we use. Occasionally we'll have to add a new one. Like when ESSER came out, we had to add a bunch of new program codes, new project reporter codes. So this first page is all of the funds. If it starts with a 1, that's the elementary middle school. If it starts with a 2, that's the high school, because they're two separate budgets. Next page is the program codes.
And so, Felicia, just let me stop you. So if I'm looking at the claims,
Yeah, so if you look at the claims,
fund,
yep, up at the top is that first column where it starts with all those numbers is the fund.
101.
So 101 is elementary, and then that next one, if you're wondering why there's several lines, so just that first line, it's Fund 101, which is elementary, and then that org number 10 is K through 5, 25 is middle school, and 20 is high school. So that's why. So we have, so like this expenditure for 360 Office Solutions, those are supplies for the entire K-12, but because we're required for our ESSA report card to report per pupil expenditures, they all have to be broken up by each school.
20 was.
20 is high school. It's next to the 201, so that's the high school.
25 was,
25 is middle school,
is just, so you say middle school is that
6 through 8.
6 through 8?
Yep.
And also keeping in mind that even though we have a specific middle school breakdown, when we say elementary, anything with the 1 in front of it is K-8.
Okay.
That's how you classify.
So elementary, middle school is one budget unit.
101, the general fund is K-8. But
The 10, 25, 20 is.
but we do break it down within,
Yeah, with them, yep. So then that next number, that 100, under, it says account source program function.
Mhm.
So all those numbers are thrown together. But that 100 is the program code for regular education. That's where most of our expenditures happen. is
And that's where,
regular
if you
education.
look on the back of page 1, you'll see 100, then you've got regular
Yep.
education.
Rarely, I mean, we do have some that we use in here, so 100 is one. Special education has its own code, because we have to account for that through OPI. There are several in here that we use, but there are a lot of them that we don't.
But we'll see expenditures come out of gifted and talented.
Yep. Transformational learning, advanced opportunity, we'll see them come out of the VOED ag and the VOED business, title, Perkins, everything has its own program. So if it's a federal grant, it's gonna be a 400 program number. If it's a state grant, it's a 300 program number.
Yeah, Felicia, I had a question on, you might not know the answer to this. So 265 and 365, Indian Ed, $S, and then Indian Ed. Do you know the difference between those?
265 is not a valid program code.
So that
I
one's
don't know why
been-
it's in our system. The 365 is the actual Indian Ed for all, the money received from the state. So that's where all that is coded.
And they're wanting us to track that
Yeah.
a little bit better, so you'll see that come up a little bit more. Perkins grant,
Perkins grant,
adult ed,
adult ed, all of most of those 700 numbers, with the exception of 710 and 720, because those are extracurriculars and sports. A lot of those will be going away because those are ESSER related numbers.
Yeah.
So.
And then
910 is food services, so anything to do with the kitchen, whether it's equipment, food, salaries, they all come out of 910. Anything related to the lunch program is at 910. So
and
then,
then further broken down.
yeah, so then that next number, that next 4-digit number is the function code, which is on your next page. And this basically tells them, it basically tells them the function of the expenditure. So this one obviously is just for regular education. There are a lot of these that we don't use, but we do use, like driver's education is its own function. Distance learning is its own function. Library guidance, those are all their own function. If we do professional development for teachers, that has its own function. Student transportation has its own function.
Is that 27?
2700 is student
That's
transportation.
student transportation.
Yep.
So
And
that's a good one to look at the A&I distributors when they're buying DEF.
Mhm.
Yeah,
If you look at that fund, that,
Yeah, and that'll also be a 110, 210. That fund goes with, there are only certain funds that can go with certain functions. So 2600 is anything to do with the building. So cleaning supplies, maintenance, repairs, all those kinds of things fit in that 2600.
Then I see like the buses. So you have a general student transfer, then each bus has
We
its
do
own.
not use those.
You don't use those.
Like I said, there are a lot on here that we don't use. Food services, 3100, again, anything that has to do with the lunch program fits under that function code. Little further down, you'll get into the 3400 and the 3500. So 3400 is extracurricular non-sports, and 3500 is anything that has to do with athletics.
So is that kind of like justified just with MHSA and not MHSA? Is that how you separate that?
No.
What do you?
If it's an extracurricular, so speech and drama expenditures, if we had, so when we pay stipends, speech and drama expenditures come out of 3400, all coaches come out of 3500.
the speech and drums is not sport.
Speech and drama is not a sport. FFA is not a sport.
FFA, BPA.
Yeah, all of those things fit under that 3500.
How does that work with speech and drama with being MHSA sanctioned?
Mm,
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I'm not saying it's a sport.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with MHSA. There's not much, so the sped flow through, we use that once a year when we pay our fees to the co-op. That's kind of a weird one. And then that next 3-digit code under that object column is on your next page, and this basically tells the accounting system what it is. We know the fund it's coming out of, we know the program it's coming out of, we know what function it is, but then this breaks it down whether it's a salary, whether it's a supply, a repair, a rental, a due or a fee, telephone, internet, postage. It just further breaks down where it fits in that expenditure. And then our last page, you'll see some of these at the very bottom of page 1. You'll see something in that project column. So if it is a grant, or if it is attached to the building reserve funds, it requires a project reporter code. Not all of these project reporter codes are federal grants. Some of them are local grants, like our Blaylock Trust is a local grant. Dyslexia is local. The Lorash grant is local. Fay Ranches is local. But everything is on here, whether it's a federal REAP grant, which is a rural education grant. The title grant is on here. Our state CTE money is on here. The Perkins grant is on here. Our Medicaid sexual violence program is on here. Of course, all of our ESSER is on here, gifted and talented. And then at the very bottom, you'll see that 906, which is the voted levy, and 907, which is the permissive levy.
And Jason, you had asked, you had said you were curious about how the gym sponsor sign money was going to be spent. That's 406, so that'll be tracked.
Oh, you're right there, okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Perkins is a federal federal CTE grant, so it is split between our ag department and our business department. And it really helps. We just utilize that to pay for some of the expenditures for FFA nationals and VPA registration.
Support for nationals. A supplemental just opens up to expand pathways between the middle school CTE program and the high school, so I wrote grants for that. Mr. Gary is hoping to get another welder, which would create another space in that, and then some of those supplies in there as well. Some miniature greenhouse stuff so that he gets some stuff going in the classroom, but more targeted towards middle school. So there's about I think about $5,500 on the line, which I think will go a long way for that.
And we do have, so there's a separate grant. It is, so 111 on the project recorder, that's Advancing Ag Ed Middle School. So that has its own separate grant.
That's fine, I just wasn't sure what Perkins was.
Yeah. So federal grants are Perkins, Title, REAP, ESSER, and
And is it every year no matter what? Or do you have to apply for it?
You have to apply for it. It is a formula grant.
Like
So
just plug in?
most schools that apply for the Perkins are awarded that money. You do have to apply for it. There's some accountability on the back ends. And then what they did, just opened up, this is a competitive grant, the middle school supplemental, they call it, is money that was unclaimed.
That's the 111.
I don't know if that's Advancing Ag Ed Middle School specifically. I thought it had a different name.
the money that's in there now
Is from that.
is from that. So if we have a different grant come in, it'll obviously have a different project reporter code if it doesn't fit in those program parameters. So anyway, those are all of the lovely, so
I really like that.
yeah, so you can see
That's good.
every transaction has
Four different tags.
5 numbers, potentially 6.
Oh, okay.
So
So I'm trying to get you this information. The Perkins, it's named Carl Perkins. Do you need to know about him?
I'm good, I don't want to. I should answer, period.
I'm curious because I don't know.
Well, there's Perkins grants, like for college students. So I was curious if it was similar. It's not.
Yeah.
It's-
Maybe.
you don't know about the college
Maybe.
side.
Yeah, maybe. Let's get that one.
I I didn't know if it was just like generic money that you got, but no, you're saying it's specific.
It's
for-
got strings.
Yeah, very specific.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm serious, so that helps me a lot, because I look at these, like when the packet comes out.
And
I'm
another
like,
thing, and I know we've talked about it, but I always think it's good. So the A&I, you know, the 241 for the DEF, even though it looks like 3, remember that that's just one expenditure. Right, but because
Yeah.
it's benefiting and it's being utilized by the K-12, and Felicia's breaking it down, a portion of it's going to the K-5 world, a portion to middle, and a portion to high school. That's why those are, you know, broken down like that.
Yeah, so almost all of our expenditures are broken down, but if you look right in the middle of that A&H turf, that's just a single expenditure line because that is just a high school program. So it's coming out of the Flex Fund, which is our Transformational Learning and Advanced Opportunity. 20 is the high school, 376 is Transformational Learning, 1,000 is regular education, 610 is a supply. So you will see some of those, but most expenditures have a 3-way split unless it's like there's a middle school, high school split.
And that's a
like,
formula split.
Yeah, and they're all formula splits. Transportation has a different formula than a student split. So, building has a different split than a student split.
So we worked through them, happy to discuss. So Office Solutions, when you see that coming through, that's usually Jill restocking the paper products, pens that go into her space. She does a good job of doing that. Worked the supplies when she got into the job, and this is a little bit of history, but did a good job of winnowing down and working everything down to kind of nothing. And then kind of like on demand, okay, let's order that instead of making big purchases on the front ends. So you'll see these come up throughout the year, but it's very much on demand as needed and necessary. So those all come to me. I take a look at them, I sign off on them. One of the things that we try to make sure that is going on with that is that these are essential operations, kind of like for her office and the bare necessities of what teachers might need. Sometimes I think there's science board posters and other things that are nice to have in the classroom that oftentimes, families and parents are more than happy to provide. So we try to make sure that these are just kind of like school business supplies that our kids aren't, going in there and grabbing pen, whiteboard markers. The kids love the fine tip Sharpies, but a pencil's just as good, for all that stuff. So she does a great job.
I remember right when she came into that, it was kind of a little bit of a.
There was a
free-for-all.
lot. There was people just coming in, grabbing stuff, coming in, grabbing
Not
stuff.
accounted for.
Yeah.
Stuff, but yeah.
Running a little tighter ship. A&H turf, that one always confuses me because it seems like it'd be like landscaping materials. You'll see this one come up a lot. So lumber, 26, that was the one, Craig, we were looking for. So this is, as you can see, transformational learning grant here. Shop supplies. So when we did the interior grounds walk last week, you might remember the boxes that they built, and then also the start of the cutting boards. Per the design of that class, the school will buy them the materials, and there's more than just. I think there's more than just lumber. Yeah, there's supplies in there as well. We will supply them with materials necessary to do those 2 projects first to get them up and running. Mr. Dirk runs everybody through those projects, utilizing those tools, utilizing the saws, gluing, clamping, and all that stuff, so they have a foundational place to go. That is the only project, depending on case-by-case issues, that the school fully funds.
Sure.
Kid then wants to make a bench, kid then wants to make another cutting board. We ask that the kids purchase their own materials for that. So it's kind of startup costs for running that class.
This is probably a dumb question, but like if we have them do the shelving and stuff down like Joey's, We pay for the
We pay for
materials, right? Okay, yeah, school, there's something for the school.
Yeah, and I don't know specifically, maybe Felicia will know off the top of her head, how the paper room was coded, but there's a number of flexibilities. I can think of Priyet's money, that could go into something like that. Obviously, we could use general fund. We could use, I think, transformational learning grant
Yeah.
money for that.
Well, and you'll see a little bit later, there's a reimbursement to Mr. Turk for supplies for the ramp. So that's coded completely differently, that's coming out of building reserve.
Okay, that was actually one of my questions.
So a little bit more on the front end, and then on an as-needed basis, if students need supplies to be successful in that class, you know, we're gonna meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Actuaries, Felicia, you know about them?
So every year, we are required to employ an actuary firm to provide us with our GASB 67 post-employment benefits potential liability.
Okay.
So I provide them all of our insurance, our health insurance and all those types of things so that they can run those numbers, and that has to go in our financial statements. So that is unfortunately a required expense, but it's really nice that they do that because I have no idea what it is other than that explanation.
I could read it. The object of this statement is to improve financial reporting by state and local government pension plans. It goes on and on.
Yeah.
As you guys know, we do reimburse for cell phone use. A portion of folks' cell phone use. Alec or Anna did a workshop at ECROF. So that came out of, was this title money?
Yes.
Yes, so that's Title II.
To training, yep.
So that 431 is Title II, 430 is Title II, 420 is Title I. I know you all wanted to know that.
So in terms for me, what was that training for? What?
You know, he did come in and ask me specifically what it was.
Like a sight reading, a music sight reading to teach kids how to read music?
Yeah. Allied, air handling units.
Seems like they're just like.
Permanent residents.
I went into Tammy Girl's room today, and we've talked about this. The mini split is now back on cold. You know?
Because it was, when we did the walkthrough, it was,
Yeah.
it was working
It
good.
was not blowing cold at that time. You know, so, I mean, that, you know, at a certain point in time, we're more into the labor to try to fix them, and we're just chasing it, you know. So, $829 in milk. HSA fees. We reimburse, and I don't know how often this comes up, Felicia, you probably would know. I haven't seen it in a while. We reimburse Barry for printing at home. He does a lot of paperwork there, so.
I think this is the second expenditure I've seen out of.
I was gonna say, I haven't seen it a lot, and I don't know, is this his third year in that role, so I support that. Barry and Mr. Warburton went down to the Forsyth football game. Craig, did you go to that game?
No,
Good play. They refed the game kind of like for free in exchange. Forsyth bought them pizza. Pretty good deal. Didn't have to get refs.
Way
you know,
cheaper.
Yeah, way cheaper
Way cheaper.
than getting refs. I think one ref's probably at least
One rep is at least $80.
$80. You know, if they got a crew, they're coming out with a crew. When Forsyth came up here, we had the same arrangement. They came up, we refed, and they bought the pizza, or we bought the pizza, you know, or vice versa.
So one question, like on that one, did they take a school vehicle?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
NFHS subscription, Barry needs that for rostering the games. Blair, volunteer coach. First aid training. Eichenberg bought a calculator. Wood shop supplies. Same story there, but then yeah, you see the ramp is coded a little bit differently. Fits really nicely. You know, I got thinking a little bit about some of these expenditures and just going back. And I don't think we do it as much as we could. But the strategic plan, it's a slow build on the ramp to the modular, but when you only have kids for 45 minutes, you know, it's hard to attendance, get them settled, get them out there, and you guys know this by the time you set up. But if you look at one of our objectives on improved facilities, number 3, we will ensure student involvement in facility maintenance and improvements. It's so cool. You know what's going on. The littles are kind of like gathering around and watching. You know, those guys built the ramp, so I think it's got more value in that sense.
Do we, and this is, I'm not looking through everything real quick, but like stuff for that modular, since it's kind of an addition to the school, it's not really part of the school, do you keep track of like what that's costing us? Like a
So-
total, like this is what the modular cost us this year, kind of thing?
To do that, we would have to have a separate program reporter code or project reporter code. The problem is we're paying for that out of building reserve, so it has to have the project reporter code assigned to building reserve. I can look at expenditures, I can pull a report for all the building reserve and pull out the modular ones. There aren't a lot of expenditures, they're just big ones.
I just think it's like, as time goes on and maybe we work towards some classrooms or something, bond, we can say, well, man, it's costing us this much a year,
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and
Specifically that one.
Yeah.
once they're set up though, we're done with the setup, so the only ongoing expenditures will be the electricity and the lease.
Sure.
Which, are we gonna be able to monitor utilities?
Yes, I
We'll be
told
able to
them-
track specific
I
utilities?
close, we get, welcome to
For the
Northwestern
modular?
Energy. We get a separate bill for the modular,
Sweet.
get a separate
So
bill
we'll
for
see
the
that.
reader board,
Oh,
separate
yeah,
bill for
yeah.
the bus barn, separate bill for the school.
Anywhere there's a meter, right?
Yeah,
So they
yeah,
can-
yep, it's got one out there.
So we'll all be able to look at any Northwestern Energy check and we'll know exactly how much was modular, school, transportation. reader.
And it's electric heat.
Yeah.
Yep.
2 years.
And what?
It's electric heat, so it's gonna be expensive.
You know, so it'll be fun to track that. I do think that there was, you know, there's expense on the front end of that, you know, the ramp. You know, I hate to say that we're done because as we know from facilities, you know, everything's ongoing with that. I would agree with Felicia that I don't think it'd be too hard to find every expenditure that we've put
Yeah,
into there just
agreed.
because they've been larger expenses. But, you know, I do know that we're planning to carpet the other side at Christmas. And I think what we've done is, you know, whatever the opinions are, I think we've gone intentionally slower on it and waiting to see, oh yeah, we're gonna need that. Oh yeah, we're gonna need that. Oh yeah, that's not working. You know, as opposed to doing too much on the front end and be like, oh, maybe we didn't need all that in there.
I just feel like that's a question that could be asked, well, how much does that cost you?
Yeah. Yep. And I think a good point if you're gonna try to drive an argument about expansion. Knee pads. Football. So the school owns those. Those go from year to year with the knee pads. So we pay for those.
And there again is that middle school, high school split, to where there's no elementary cost in there.
And the sports are not separated out, right?
Sports are separated out, so that 720 program code is extracurricular sports.
I mean, like football, volleyball.
No, they are not.
They're not, it goes.
We can usually look at expenditures and know, But I do keep a spreadsheet that shows spending tracking. We do that per teacher. We do that for the library, and we do it for sports.
Maintenance kit for the tool cap allows them to do some maintenance here in-house on that. I don't actually know specifically what it is, but that's what that does. Ms. Atkinson, coaches training. Perfect Solution Squid, science materials. Cell phones. Whenever you see curriculum associates, this is, and these are going to be big ticket items, not usually, but every 5 or 6 years, curriculum associates is iReady. So when we talk about anything iReady, that's who does all that work, and they get billed too. What we're looking at right here is from year to year. So we have a 6-year subscription for both the math and the reading in the K-5 world. However, and you do that with whatever 20 kids in mind for first grade. When you get 23 kids in first grade the next year, and and all this stuff ships every single year, you see some increases in the cost based upon increasing enrollment. So they're smaller numbers, 285, 470, 751, as opposed to the one big adoption, which was pushing $60,000, $70,000. So you buy that big chunk in the front end, and then there's just smaller stuff every single year. And one thing to keep our eye on, should we do a quiz? Let's do a quiz. What fund did that come out of? Curriculum Associates. On the spot,
Elementary flex.
Elementary flex.
more specifically.
And then which program?
Oh my God.
Remember?
K through 5.
376.
Hey, you wanted it.
I know, I know.
You wanted all the information.
Alicia's got them all
so-
memorized.
Oh, this is good. This is great. Transformational learning.
General education.
Yep.
1,000.
Transformational learning grant.
Applied.
Yeah. So we have put, we have put well over, $100,000 probably in curriculum and out of the transformational learning grant. So that's what that's being paid out of. Darcy Posey, CPR, Ed Mentum, also coming out of 376, transformational learning. So that is the district's enrollment in Apex learning classes. So anytime if you hear about a kid on Apex doing the distance learning, we make the decision to buy a district-wide enrollment. It allows us to enroll based upon our enrollment, all the kids that we want in those classes. There are additional classes that require, I think, a $300 fee. If there's a real person kind of behind the scenes, some of our more complex languages are there. There are additional fees for lab sciences if there's a kid or something like that, which we will engage the child with. Probably cover that out of Montana Advanced Opportunities Grant. So it gets us most of what we need, though.
Most, and then we also have, so not only do we have Apex, we also have Montana Digital Academy, which is also online, and that's totally separate. It used to be fully funded by the state, and then legislature took that funding away, so now schools are required to pay for Montana Digital Academy, which before we didn't have to do that.
And I think I asked this a year ago or whatever, but the online learning is still pretty heavily used amongst the students.
I don't have the number for you, but I can give you 2 instances. I walked through the library this morning. That whole bank on one side was all students taking Apex. I think there's 10 computers there. 8th period is same story. I could get the number very easily from, yeah, that's a good number to have, from Natalie, Natalie Cook, who's managing that whole thing. It is a really good opportunity to kind of expand the catalog based on what we have, and also kind of relieves some pressure on some of our electives that, art is really popular, but you can only put so many kids in art, and it just gives them kind of another opportunity if there's not a lot of choice for them. So I still think it's an expense that's well worth it. As we transition out of the transformational learning grant, those are going to be conversations that we'll probably, need to have.
Yeah.
So,
It seems like it's huge.
that's a good opportunity. Good opportunity. If you're wondering how much it costs us to mail the newsletter, there it is. 76 and whatever, $150 to send the newsletter, which is really not that much.
No,
And that's
In
the one-
reality,
and that's the one that goes out to
don't
all of
have
our
any
box holders. Yeah.
in not only Joliet, also Boyd and Solution.
$7,374 to defend the district against a complaint filed by Mrs. Peters and Tara Steen. So those are unforeseen expenses that we'll just continue to contend with.
Which I think are significant.
That's a lot of money.
Well, and two, this comes right out of general fund, so this is directly impacting kids.
Unexpected it could continue.
Fall at School Solutions. What do they do?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. What is
So, let's look at our coding again. So Paula School Solutions is a program that's used in the library. So when you look at that 4-digit code, it says 2220, that's a library services function.
General distributing the Lincoln 5P Plus and the Excalibur. I don't know what those are.
This is the welding equipment
Oh,
for Ms. Stringary. If you look in the very end column, this is coming out of our state CTE grant money.
Football, travel to Wolf Points, the school vehicle. Gordon Hahn was our day one motivational speaker. Yeah, very day
was
one
great.
PIR. He was.
I even cried. I did.
Yeah,
It was an amazing story.
it really was. He is a local guy. Well, I think he's from Denver or out of Colorado or
He
something
grew up,
originally.
he grew up in Colorado.
But taught forever and ever in Montana. Administrator, superintendent, so he's got kind of all the levels. His message was, and he showed a lot of his report card. He actually kept all of his report cards, and the comments from teachers were heartbreaking. Gordon has so much potential if he could only sit still.
Like for years.
Gordon, yeah, year
Years.
after year after year.
But that's
Yeah,
what made him succeed.
and he
No
said,
personal experience with this.
you have Gordon Hahn in your class, right?
They heard that?
And his big message was, kids are growing up. They're not grown-ups. You can't expect them to be grown up.
They're
right?
growing up.
They're growing up. It was awesome. Yeah, it almost makes me kind of like get emotional thinking about it.
You should have
It
his
was
parents too.
It was good. And he was so relatable and like perfectly kind it was just perfect. So he came to me from Tobin Navajo.
Oh.
Actually, he sent an envelope. And you throw all that stuff away, right? For whatever reason, I opened it up, right? And I was like, huh. And it was like his story, call these people if you want like a reference. And Tobin was on there. So I called Tobin. He's like, yeah, you got to bring him in. He's super cheap, and it's a great experience. We did it, rolled the dice on it. It was awesome. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Go to, it's our phones.
That's the school
That's our telephone service
for
for the school.
the landline and stuff? Interesting. So it's not,
Technically not a landline.
It's an internet based, so this is,
so we don't have CenturyLink?
CenturyLink is our internet, not the landline. They've always been separate. I don't know why, but they've always been separate.
Interesting. News to week.
Like covers, Granger, white marking paint. I think Felicia did the math on this. I don't want to miscalculate. Did we calculate about $500 to paint the football?
I think it's about $400 to paint the football field.
$400 in paint.
Get ready for more of those dispatches.
One more. Oh, two more, because we only had
Two
two.
more. We have a bill in the waiting, and then we have another one coming. Normally, that comes from Laurel Ace Hardware.
That's what it is.
So it depends on where she can get it. This white marking paint
That one looks different.
is really cheap, so this is not football paint.
That's
I'm not
just
sure what
spray.
this
That's
is.
just.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but it is not football paint. That will come from Laurel Ace Hardware.
AJ Pest Pros comes in and fits the pest. High altitude. This is their hookup. So you can see Jason pretty good actually, the way that Felicia does that.
Mhm.
Actually,
That's Nicole, excuse me.
That's
Yeah,
Nicole. She
Is
does
that
a
all
great job.
modular, the 82?
No, so those first 3 lines are an underground line repair that he did. I don't know where that was.
I was wondering the same thing too. I just want to make sure that, so that he did not do work over here. So
Yeah, it
because
was
you can
not
see the
this.
date on it, that's August 9th, and that thing was
Next
after.
one shows the crow's nest repair, but it's the same, no, different date.
Yeah,
It's a different date,
I
yeah.
think it was related to prepping for the modular,
All this 89.
8.6 and 8.9.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that 8246 would be a modular expense,
Yep.
correct? Yeah.
yeah. And that was one that we were always anticipating, right? Because he did essentially what we thought.
No, I'm just thinking number
Yep.
wise, if we want
Yeah.
to put a package together for.
And if you look at the coding on that, because that was a repair, that was an existing problem. That
This
wasn't
repair
something new.
underground line.
So the repair is coded differently, that goes to the general fund,
Okay.
because that was an existing problem. If it's a repair, it's an
I don't
existing.
remember what it was either.
But interesting.
So, and then the modular work, you can see where it's broken out to the building reserve with the modular work.
I'm trying to think if it would have had to do with a water pump or did he do any work with sprinklers? Or was that all like local?
That's all well.
Maybe the well,
Well,
yeah.
there's a pump.
I'll find out. Like we were talking, Felicia and I were talking about that.
What was the crow's nest? What was wrong?
It blew up. I was something just popped up there. They had it working. It wasn't during the game.
It was a middle school game or something, wasn't it?
The middle school game, yeah, because then they had the extension cord running. They had the extension cord running to the thing. Worked for the pregame up until the first quarter, and then it just stopped working. So ultimately, he had to come in and do that. Higher ground fencing. So this is the remainder on the chain link over on the playground as well as the football entrance. You see that. Went back, and so these are rough numbers. Went back and looked. So the initial bid on this was $25,000. We had I always get the name wrong, Jars.
Yes.
We had Jars Fence also bid the same job about for the same price. So $25,000 was that bid. You see some changes, some additional charges that are there. It was not in the initial bid to do the archway. So that was, a big add on that to get those 2 posts and to get that work over. And then, there were some changes with the gate of itself. to design it in that way, as well as to get the man gate. So those things were not in the initial bid. So you did see that price go up about $10,000. I don't know what changes were made on that end. I know that there was a gate added, just the way that the modular got put in. So there was some additional charges on that front as well.
So how much over the bid? Do you
About
think?
12,000.
About 12 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, with the archway, which was not in the bid,
Right.
which we approved him to do and asked him to do it. And then some changes on the main gate. Always good to put it in perspective. If you remember the asphalt project, it was initially bid at $25,000, which ended up costing us $55,000. You know, and I think that one was much more unforeseen. This project, we actually specifically added, we made those decisions to put the archway back in, which I don't think were you on the board when they approved the archway? Yeah, were you still on the board, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't remember what that dollar amount was.
It was a bunch.
I think it was about 8,000 by the time we
Right.
thought we'd have to engineer it and the supplies. We got a bid from one of the steel places in Billings, which is very high.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just worry, and I know everything was done, whatever, it looks great. But I just worry, you know, when we're at like 25,000, we end up 12,000 over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, coming out of the fund, it's like, it's a chunk of money.
Yeah.
That's just, I understand we have to do it sometimes like that. It's nice to try to keep track of some of that stuff. Maybe that's things looking back on some of this facility stuff that we've done. I don't think any of us have ever, I mean, we haven't ever really ventured into like the modular stuff. It's kind of new territory for a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of learned maybe we better step back and make sure we've got everything covered.
Yeah.
You know, that's all.
Yeah.
That's the kind of my thoughts.
Yeah. And you know, the power finance side is always really nice. You know, after you get through a project, oh yeah. You know, so if you know, another modular goes in, I think those are all, you know, lessons that we've learned, you know, same thing with.
And Clark isn't a professional contractor, so we can't.
No.
There's unforeseen stuff that we're all aware that these bids come in, that, you know. so-
Well,
And you would know.
That's where I'm
When you
thinking.
give a bid,
So-
right? Does that bid always come in at price or under?
Well, there's
Rarely.
unforeseen
Rarely.
stuff, and, oh, there's some
Tack on
underground
10%,
stuff that
right?
I didn't.
I think anybody that takes a bid can assume.
I guess one thing that I look back on is when we all went out, we were talking about power. Power was a huge, would that end up 30 grand or something? Was
20.
that 20 grand for the power. I mean, we all went out there and looked, yeah, oh yeah, it can come from there, it'll work out great, we all agreed on it, thought it was great. Hindsight looking on it, it's like, you know, we probably should have gotten hold of the people that actually know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oh yeah.
you know, and asked that question. We didn't know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, with the power of hindsight, it's always nice. You know, I think, and these are all what if scenarios, but there's a lot of things that become really complicated from day to day running the building without that modular classroom. So I would make an argument, even knowing that we're going to be in another $20,000, that we're not going to have the additional classrooms that we need this year and definitely next year without that modular classroom. And so I think that the 20,000, I think the 2,000 into the carpet, I think that, you know, the landscaping, the concrete, I still think that's the right decision. In that, even though, yeah, it's beginning to cost a lot of money, that there will not be any extra room next year. You know, and it's going to be concerning. You know, about where to put people. Having those two spaces is going to be real nice. You know.
No, it was something we needed. I just, yeah. It was a lack of experience on all of our, so we just never ventured into this
Yeah.
ground before.
Yeah.
Well, wait till
It
we
got
do
us-
bond.
I was just gonna say, Jason, just like as pennies when we start talking about expansion, like,
It is,
and you're gonna
Yeah,
get a
and
bit.
what's to
and
say we have to add another modular next year, you know? so,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think like.
that's the quick, simple fix. He's got, essentially got to make these decisions, and we wait, and then it's not ready for school.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I think we have, I mean, I think the pennies are accounted for, they're not just flying out the window,
No.
you know, willy-nilly.
We see where it's
It's all-
going out,
yeah.
it's all right here.
Now, hide anything, it's all here.
Speaking of dust pans, there they are,
Right? So expensive.
accounted for. IXL, big ticket item, that's an annual, purchase, targeted math intervention, that students work on in our, lower levels. It's available, K-8, not used as much in the K-5 world anymore. We have iReady, which, is a little bit more targeted to, individual learners, but in our numeracy class, getting kids reteach and some skills that they need, so it's an online learning platform. So you'll see that come up every year. We question it every single year just to make sure that the teachers are using it and we're not falling into the habit of just renewing it to renew it. And we can see the use.
And next year we'll hit general fund instead of out of ESSER, so that will be a vital conversation.
Yeah, it's been a learning loss targeted fund. That's a learning loss money. We've been able to move it over there. Water for the drivers. I don't specifically remember what the lunch food was.
Every once in a while, they'll have a need for something, so their trucks come in from, US Foods, but every once in a while they'll run short of something, or US Foods won't have it, and they'll go down to the grocery store and pick it up. Very rare and very small expenditures,
How do you know it's kitchen?
because they provide me the receipts. Depends on who gives me the receipt, and how they justify what they spent. Right, right. I don't like her on the form.
Board approved $1,750 for the Joliet FFA. They're there now. I had a detailed itinerary from Mr. and Gary. They're doing it, rocking it. Mr. Richard. Jostens, when you see Jostens, Karen probably remembers, but we have a senior. They have managed to capture the graduation market. And they do gowns, and they do tassels, and they do announcements, and glass rings.
Boys, do I have to have a cap and gown? Yes, we
Yes.
have a cap and gown. Done.
Right? Yeah,
So what were these for?
so these are the valedictorian and salutatorian medals we were last year.
I love your statement, Clark. You don't want to be nickel and dime, don't have kids.
Right.
So much.
And it doesn't end when they become adults, it just shifts who you're writing the checks to.
K316 is Mira and the detection dogs that come in. They've been here once, so we signed up for 3. So he'll come in 2 more times for this year, just helping us create a safe campus, good presence. That used to be an expense that was shared 50-50 with Breakfast Flakes. They kind of got it up and running.
Yeah.
So that was a good deal. The Breakfast Flakes are not doing that anymore, at least to our knowledge, but I'm happy to approve that expense. I think it's money well spent, you know. So it looks like that general fund, yeah. So it is one thing that comes out of there, but I think in concert with our drug testing, in concert with, you know, relationships that we build, you know, trying to have an impact on those to create a safe campus. Casey Interiors, so this one's not specifically related to modular, but that's modular carpet. So another $2,200. Expect to see the same on the other side, on this earlier side of Christmas. Land and Associates, you'll see them in a couple different ways. So DOT is drug testing for our bus drivers, but we also contract with them for student drug testing. So they'll come down and do that.
That comes out activity.
That comes out of the activity plan. Laurel Ace Hardware, you see some repairs there. There's the marking paint.
Yeah, there's the field.
Oh, yeah, there it is. White
Field paint down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Why is 5 gallons of white field paint $41.84? And it's $21.60. And it's $71.58.
Remember, that's the same expenditure.
You break it out.
Yeah, so it's if you look over, it's broken out by school code,
Oh, right there.
because PE uses the
Yeah,
field
okay,
and
gotcha.
all that kind of stuff, so. And you'll notice that 2,600, that's a maintenance, building and grounds function. That's not general fund. Well, it's general fund, but it's not education. It's building.
Level 3 communications is centric.
Okay.
Mandy, Marlena. And then when you get into the MasterCard corporate clients, these are the P cards that we operate. Talked a little bit about those. I made a purchase on, it's called Teachers Pay Teachers, big packet of Lewis and Clark instructional materials, K-12, included lesson plans, printouts, analyzing texts, analyzing the journals. So that ended up being, about 140, 150 bucks. Shared it out with all of our teachers. There's a lot of reproducibles, a lot of printers, printables that I've already seen in use going up. But kind of just try to drive that theme home. So that was an expenditure on, I think this is all my card.
And that fits within that Indianet for All Expend That program 365. That's how we're
Trying to spend that
accounting
money.
to say we have to spend that money and code it, so.
What is the portaphone?
Portaphone is, so this is an expenditure, 50% from the Booster Club. So we ended up paying, I think, half this, right, Felicia? Portaphone is the communication system for the sideline up to the crow's nest for our football coaches.
So this is the full expense, and then Booster Club wrote a check to us that I deposited into our general fund.
Okay.
VB Huddle, that's for volleyball. The Huddle subscription, so they can have their film and break it down. That was purchased on my card. And then MSOL registration, you'll see there, was the registration fee to go to that conference up in Missoula. So you'll also see additional expenses for that include lodging, and then I just did reimbursements purchased on my own card. I'm assuming that this card is the catch-all that you give out, Felicia.
So this first one is these cards, or this bill incorporates Clark's card, Joey's card, and Mandy's card. So this is all administration. The bigger numbers come from the other 12 cards that we have. They're all grouped together. That's how BMO does the statement. Administration is on one, and then all the other cards are under another account. So this is stuff that Marlena orders. This is when teachers come in and check out a card or expenditures for things that they need. So that's why it's significantly higher.
And you'll see some modular stuff in there as well, so we can kind of make note of that. The ramp is actually the stairs, the aluminum stairs that are out there. The tables, I think those are for the modular too, that we need to equip that with desks. So those are expenses that we're keeping an eye on, from the sense that passing a bond would be one thing, but then there's going to be a lot of general fund expenditures on the back end to put teacher desks, to furnish those things that is not incorporated into the bond. And so we are actively tracking those about how much did it take. So lessons learned, right? How much did it take to actually get this thing up and running? Now you got 5 classrooms, to do. It's going to be
Smart boards.
smart board, all of that thing, which we had to do 2 more, out at that space, so.
The nice part about smart boards is, we can pay for that out of a federal grant for technology. So that's really nice.
Or Clark is soliciting our donors.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. More gym sponsorships.
So like the modular ramp here, that for 1999, you know, we thought this aluminum stairs, is that a purchase of those or is that a rental one of those?
It's a one-time fee.
One-time fee.
Yeah, and I don't know specifically if we own them, or I think Coy just said, we'll get you what you need.
Because I know we talked about this in facilities, because that was.
The ramp was a rental.
Okay.
That I think, I'll check with Coy on this, I think they sold us the stairs.
Okay.
And I think we got two, we needed two more, and he brought two out.
Okay.
That we're just working with. So we'll continue that conversation with Coy. On that. But I can't remember what the rental was for the ramp.
It was crazy.
Was it like $500 a
Yeah,
month?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
what,
was a
that's
lot.
what jogged my memory. It's like,
It was a lot.
Is that a monthly rental? What is that?
So we had Yellowstone Acoustic come out. Yellowstone Acoustic, if you want to look at their work, they did the office that we provide for Dr. Amanda Lewis to do her services here. They soundproofed her office. We had them come out and look and bid a job to soundproof the modular classroom. It was, tens of thousands of dollars to do that work, which they couldn't carry through. So instead, what Nicole proposed was these acoustic tiles to the tune of $300. So chose not to go with that. I think it probably would have been a little bit more professional looking, but I think we're doing a good job with the soundproofing that she chose to do on a budget. So appreciate her forward thinking on that front and her ideas and willingness to get that done. Dot cam, when you see a dot camera, these are like, we all probably remember overhead projectors. Fancy version of an overhead projector, they're right here. These up on screen, you can manipulate, you can do whatever you want. Teachers love them. We get those. I don't know what the first aid American flag.
Just general supplies, we needed a new flag and first aid supplies for the office.
State law, have to have a flag in every classroom. Baby changing station, I think needed to be changed out in one of our bathrooms. So those things that you see that fold down, there's our key fobs. Amber with her cheer, water, 8 class pets.
What sort of pets did we need?
So your snake. No, it's like a in theory pet. I think.
It's for the littles, it's one of the first grade classrooms.
I know that my own son has. It's quite funny. So Jack, they've adopted a wolf. It's not a real wolf. It's very confusing to Leo. It's like, where is your wolf at? Jack can't quite explain it to Leo.
Under bed.
Grade books. Some teachers are still using those kind of old school manual entry grade books, so we're happy to purchase those for them. I think we got a little bit of money back for some Chromebook cases. McGraw-Hill, anytime you see that, that's usually a textbook, some sort of a bigger program. So Study Sync, you may hear that word. Study Sync is the 6th, 7th, 8th grade ELA adoption. So that was adopted, to north of 50 grand a couple of years ago. And this would be the same thing. Probably you needed 3 additional books to round it out, on that front. We always like to have at least, the number is different. I like to have at least 5 extra on hand for the course of the year because you get kids moving. We had kids show up today, kind of unannounced. Here they are. It's hard if you don't have the materials for them, right off the bat. It is an expenditure, but it's nice to have those and make a smooth transition.
Yeah.
The school, as long as I've been here, have paid for the senior banners. It's $1,200. They look nice, but I don't know. $1,200. Utilities,
In light of other expenditures that we have foreseen and known, I think $1,200 is for our seniors who've been here for 12 years.
Yeah, I think it's nice.
I get it, it's a chunk of change.
yeah. I think they look nice. I think, now especially that Megan, I think is in charge of that. Like, they're pretty uniform. They're not identical, so there's still some individual flair in those pictures. They decided on what they were gonna wear, and a number of objects. It's not out of control. The professional, Megan's doing a bang up job on the school photography.
These other things that the class could pay for them.
The class could,
Some,
yeah,
I need to pay for all of them, but.
yeah.
Go ahead, Felicia, there's more.
Just saying, class funds are a very touchy subject, so, and they usually don't have that kind of money.
I don't have a problem with it.
Right?
The senior class that's the first one to go, that's not gonna be fun.
Say that again?
If
If you don't do
if you
that.
don't
Yeah.
do it,
Like next year.
like next year's seniors,
Yeah.
like,
I think it's a good thing. That's,
I don't know, I like them.
I think they look nice.
You go to other schools and see their kid.
Did you see Park City? Because there's on the light poles down
I
too.
think that.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool
Yeah.
idea. Kind of same thing as we do with.
Yeah,
Maybe for graduation, that would be awesome.
yeah, and then the kids get them.
I was gonna say.
I've been to people's houses and they're like up on the wall.
Yeah. That's,
Mine are in closets somewhere.
Your kids are old.
My kids are old.
Are they still
Utilities. But another thing to think about with Megan is it's not, what was the old outfit, Life Touch?
Life touch.
You know,
Not China.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's mine. It's staying pretty local. So we're reinvesting, and that's a strategic plan issue. Our partnerships between the community and school are strong. Utilities are there. Montana Living Designs is Gina, and the work that she does. I would say that the Proceed On stuff. So you've seen those shirts. I think that's the cost of culture. And getting everybody a shirt. The bus drivers, I did allow them a little bit of an allowance to go down and get something that fits them a little bit better. And then coaches
Is there any
gear.
allowance for the board?
I was just thinking that, but I feel like usually we get those. Did we get you
The
guys a
past
shirt?
administration, we got things.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, what I like are, and again, this is, I think, the cost of culture, but the coaches gear one that Gina did, those quarter zips, they're pretty sweet.
This year?
Yeah, so maybe I'll bring one of those to the board meeting. I do remember Allison, I think, bringing the gear in.
she did, yeah. They were really that too.
It's okay, I think you do. Minor detail.
Rate spending.
Good job.
well, it'll be a question Dawn will ask when she approves the next set of claims. Why are we buying the
She
board
will,
stuff?
Don won't like that.
Yeah, I don't need a shirt.
If you like me, you have so many of them.
Yeah.
I know, if you notice the one JPEG thing I wear is what we got at the board. I'm not cheap. Yes, I'm very cheap.
Montana, Wyoming systems, speaking of nickel and diming, that is a major problem. Our fire alarm system in Mr. Richards' office, a major issue. You can see it there. That's the security code. I mean, it's a problem.
And you said that in our walkthrough that if it goes bad,
We're out.
we're
It's-
not.
Nowadays, panel, they put a new one in, and it might be time,
Sure.
as we look at $3,200, and if you're looking at a $15,000 expense,
Is that what they said?
it's not going to take much more of the. Yeah, we can't do it this year.
Next year.
absolutely not. But if you look at $3,200, they come out a handful more times.
Yeah.
Pay for itself, so it'll be an unforeseen thing. and it'll be kind of a tough pill to swallow on the front end, but
Did you get a quote from them?
I have a quote from them my first year as superintendent, so I could go and dig that up, because I was done with the peeping and doing those things, and the magnets are always releasing, you know, and so they've got it to the point now where it's working again, but
At least it gave us, we have that idea.
Yeah.
If it does fry overnight,
yeah.
we know kind of where we're at.
Yeah, it very well could fit, you know, next year. Obviously, I think there's, you know, some bigger things that we need to do, like the total resurface of the parking lot and the striping needs to be done. That's going to be, you know, 30, 40. But that could very well fit, you know, I think in that voted, even though we didn't put it on the list. But general safety, security improvements.
Yeah, we're kind of on borrowed time.
Good.
Aren't we?
We've been here an hour plus. Are we wanting to get through all of this?
We're almost done.
We're almost done.
Yeah. What page are we on?
We're on page 12 of 18. We're getting there.
Background checks, health insurance, cell phones, pipes. There's your Northwestern Energy bill, $4,700.
And that's broken out bus barn school. And then the next one shows reader board. So their billing is kind of weird. Sometimes we'll get two, depending on how claims fall. So.
School supplies for Ms. Bergam. I approved the Lewis and Clark simulation for her to work on in the class. She came to me and asked me about it. She had some homecoming stuff. The teachers needed new lanyards for their harmonicas. So those are
Coming
the,
out of our PAX grant.
It comes- comes out of the grants. Peak one is Cobra. Anything to add on that?
No, this is a fee that we have to have, so anybody that works for the school and then, you know, leaves the school for some reason, we're required to provide a COBRA notice. These people do an excellent job, make sure we're fitting all of the federal guidelines in there, and they issue all of those notices for us.
Peterson with the laminating stuff. We've talked about this one a lot. Peterson, $4,000 in copies. Keeping in mind that, in case you reminded me of this when I was freaking out, that the beginning of the year, there's a lot of copies. You know, big things, big packets that are getting printed off.
So this is.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, so you see the invoice date 9/3, so that's for August. So that's the first couple weeks of school, everybody getting their rooms ready, all that kind of stuff, so.
There's your flat monthly fee for the modular. Pitney Bowes is the postage machine. Rimrock Computer, so that first one is his time. That's usually heavy too, in, what's the date on that one? So that would have been August.
Yeah, so that's August
Yeah,
9th.
his time is just heavy in August. And then $16,000 was for Chromebooks.
Which luckily $8,700 of that came out of ESSER funds.
So was that just updating?
On our cycle.
So-
Yeah, so keeping in mind that that cycle is about 30 to 40 a year, that'll keep it fresh.
And then, so we have, 8,000 came out of the ESSER funding, but the rest of that came out of our tech voted levy.
Riverside Repair, talks about them. Rural broadband, so this would have been an unforeseen expense to get us internet while the fiber optic was out of service. Rural broadband, we have them, they flipped on the switch, we paid for their service, it's now turned off. Kerber, school specialty is also just school supplies. Schoolhouse IT access points.
So these are the wireless access points throughout the school. This,
Is it E-Rate? Or why is this a different one than Rimrock Computer?
well, because it comes from, this is part of the E-rate, and you
Okay.
can see it also comes out of the tech fund.
We build them directly though, and not
Yeah, they send us the
not Rimrock. Okay. Selby's, tape measure, and then the gym signs. Keeping in mind that the gym signs cost us, I don't know, it's gone up a little bit.
$40.
40, I think it's about $40 each. We charge $350 per year. Danner's, Shane drove the bus. South Central is the Superintendent Association, $35 for that. Star Hall is the same story as IXL. Learning, that's more targeted to the littles though, so they're using that one. Fuel, there was a reimbursement to Terrastine for AP test fees for last year, requested a financial hardship.
So Town and Country is the company that comes and fills up the fuel tank at the bus barn.
Sorry, did you just say that right? Terracine requested a financial hardship?
Yeah, so if people need financial assistance, they can come up and grab that.
Oh, gotcha. Where do you guys keep the fuel? Over by the bus barn?
Yeah, there's a tank over there.
What's all the super pumper park?
So Super Pumper is the gas station here in town. We had an account there. They have since, Super Pumper Parkland is the company that owns them. They have since decided to do away with those. So, I just put in one last bill for them. So this is where, they can go down and fill up the mowers and, you know, for the, you know, if an employee needs to fill up the school vehicle, driver's ed, all those kinds of things. This is going away. So now you will see those expenditures on the P cards.
I just saw super, I'm like, what is that?
Yeah, it's
That's the
weird.
country
It used to
corner
be,
down there.
yeah, but this is who we have to mail the check to, so that's where it gets going.
That Vax Robotics, that was Grant, right?
Oh, yeah. Where's that one at?
Yeah, so 7,000 was the grant from Stillwater Mine. And then those other two expenditures, that came out of the Gifted and Talented grant.
Cool.
Well, half of it, so Gifted and Talented, half of it gets paid with the Gifted and Talented and half the expenditure has to come out of general fund. It has to be matching.
Yeah, the money went, where money was being funneled through the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Super complicated. Miss Ruel was really worried about getting her $7,700, but it got here. Yeah, so that was sweet.
Anything else?
I think that was good. Yeah, that was good.
Good information, thanks for the tutorial.
You're welcome. There will be a quiz, pop quiz. When we
I'll
do-
fail. Well, I won't fail, but as long as I have my relief.
It's really handy. When I first started, I had no clue what any of those were. Now it's so ingrained as we're bringing on this new person, like, oh, she's gonna have to learn all this.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's awesome. Cool. Are we good? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll adjourn at 8:01.